Thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear professor, dear colleagues, dear participants. Thank you so much being online. And let's go through again the African Union law, policies and institutions. So just few words about and comments about the wonderful His Excellency Abdul Qawi Yusuf. Yesterday, I listened to him with very careful really tendency, and he's for me a star. When he gives advice, he's very modest, humble person, but he's our star as African judge. He was a chairperson and president of the ICJ, the most prestigious court in the world. And when he tell you to be in this place, you have to work hard. I completely adhere and I agree. I was a student, a simple student in the 90s, but I dreamt big. So this is also an advice to all the participants, the students who are listening to us. Please dream big. You can touch the sky, you can go very far. However, also you have to work very hard. So these are his few words yesterday, but his knowledge, his story, his history, his personal experience from Somalia to the world is very inspiring. He's a leader. So really, I was amazing and inspiring by him. And every time I go to The Hague, he gave me the opportunity to go to his office, and we really comment a lot of issues on international law, especially that we are with global challenges. And I ask myself, is it the international order or the international disorder? Giving the principles of the charter, and you can really have a lot of comments on that. And I saw your questions and I took note of all of them, and I will address them in today's presentation at the same time. There was questions on the question of conflicts in Africa, and today we will continue with the political organs. And one of the most important organs in our continent is the Peace and Security Council. Please go with the next slide. So the Peace and Security Council, exactly like the Security Council of, like the Peace Council, Conseil de Paix et de Sécurité, Conseil de Security Council of the United Nations, we have the same. We have 15 elected members. However, we have no veto right at the African Union. And you can see it's rotative. We can go to the next slide. You can see that we have next one, the composition of the Peace and Security Council, 3 seats from Southern Africa. These are the 5 regions of Africa. These are not the RECs. There is a difference between the RECs, we will come after to the RECs, and the regions. So the region, or the Southern region, give 3 seats. 3 seats for the Central Africa region, 3 seats for East Africa region, 4 for West Africa region, and 2 for the North. And it's about election, and we have 10 3-year term, and the 5 others are for 2 years' time. It's to assure the continuity. And the Peace and Security Council, as you can understand, go back to the slide on the role. Yeah, the functions is to conduct diplomacy focused on early warnings, prevention, facilitate peacemaking, establish peacekeeping operation, all what Peace and Security Council can. This is even the APSA. There is another slide. I put the logo of the architecture of APSA. Go back a little bit. APSA. Yeah, this is, you see here, it's about the APSA, African Peace and Security Architecture. That means that we have a lot of components for peace and security in Africa, and one of them is Peace and Security Council, but it is not the only this component. We have a portfolio in the Commission, and I put the professor and the commissioner Bankole. You can see the picture of His Excellency Bankole, the Nigerian one. Go now after that, the picture of the commissioner. The Commissioner Bankole was re-elected, and he is now the Commissioner for Peace and Security, and he has a portfolio of political affairs, peace and security for the next 4 years. And in his department, he's dealing in close relationship with Peace and Security Council and all the other departments. On AGA, for example, it's about good governance, the rule of law, the unconstitutional changement of governments. All these issues are together. This is the pink, this is the ideal situation. Next, when I put here other, just to comment, I put here the flag of United Nations, because on on the continent. Go next. Just I give the example of this map of the conflicts, and I choose the conflicts in the number of at least the issues and the different conflicts in the Bassin Chad, for example, and you can see the flags of other people who intervene, other actors who intervene. So this is to tackle the question you issued yesterday. Someone said United Nations and the efficacy or the efficiency of the African Union and the role of legal. Someone asked the question on legal contribution on making endless geopolitical conflicts, especially in the Sahel. So number one, the Office of the Legal Counsel, we are purely technical. We have nothing to deal with politics and political issues and with the conflicts. We are even not a court, and we have not this mandate. I will come back to the last part on the mandate of the Office of the Legal Counsel. So this is to address the question of who is the organ, who is responsible, who has the mandate to deal with the peace and security. When you see the protocol on the Peace and Security Council, you can find it is wonderful. However, again, the problem is this gap between the text and the context. When you see the number of the conflicts, armed conflicts, both internal and international, between the African countries, when you see the statistics of displaced persons, of the refugees, Judge Abdul Qawi Youssef yesterday addressed the question of refugees, IDPs, the suffer of all these people. And this year and the last year, we have the disaster in Sudan and in other countries, the Democratic Republic of Congo. In one day, it's about Ethiopia, and then 2019 with the Oromo, etc. So we have international crimes, and we have crimes of ethnicity cleaning. We have crimes of genocide, of crimes of war, crimes against humanity. All these issues I told you yesterday about the Article 4 with the principles, how we can address all these issues. We have Peace and Security Council. However, again, we have all the challenges of the effectivity of our organs. Number one, even the peace fund is most of the money coming from the partners. Number two, Peace and Security Council with the component with the elected countries, they do not have enough human resources and armies to give them to the AU. We do not have till now army from AU like we have with the Casque Bleu for United Nations. That's why you can see all these other components on the land. You can see that it can be unilateral states who come, like France, USA, Emirates, Turkey, etc. These are what is called the how to say, they are just giving their assistance in the conflicts. Or you can find United Nations by itself, and sometimes you can find even non-state actors. We have one day saw a lot of people who are nothing. They are not states, they are not United Nations, they are not belonging to any organization, and we are saying these are SPG, Société Privée de Guerre, like you know, these multinational armies that are just private ones who do the war or not, or are defending or not. So there is a lot of questions on the land of Africa. And I said yesterday that we are a very rich land and continent. That's why the question of interference from foreign countries can be put on the table and can be discussed. And that's why you can ask yourself a question, why we never are able to end these conflicts in continent of Africa, and why silencing the guns is just a slogan. It was the theme of the year during COVID 2019, but the guns are not silent, and people are just till now they are dying, they are just having a lot of homeless, etc. These are the issues and the problems of our continent. It's the contrast between the text and the context, as I said, and you can understand again that if we need to explain why and how, we need a deep analysis. It is not only about interference of foreign countries and the way they need to put their arms and hands on our resources, but we have also a responsibility. I spoke yesterday about bad governance, about corruption, about the fact that sometimes even the managing the country politically saying is not good. So that's why even the tolerance, these are principles. When you see someone yesterday asked me about Ubuntu, very nice question. He said, do you have Ubuntu? And these are kind of human rights principles and customs and values of Africans. This is not written, it is traditions, and these traditions are unique in Africa. So when we see about tolerance, these issues are there in our land for centuries. So why we are killing each other just because of the color of our of the people, or because of their ethnicity, or because of their religion, values, or because they are homosexual or whatever. So unfortunately, we have this still now. And you remember the genocide of Rwanda was something that hurt a lot. And you see a lot of books were written on the genocide of Rwanda. No more again this kind of disasters. However, we are in 2025, and Peace and Security Council have urgent meetings such every time they send us their timetables and their calendar, they have urgent meetings each month. And there is a terrorist attack maybe each month in different and several countries in the continent. However, are they able to stop them? Are they able to change all these 4 years? I just put a question mark. I think we have to do a very deep analysis on that to understand why our organs are not really efficient, and why the Constitutive Act with its principles and its different rules are not really respected on the land. I think it is not just to say a few words in a lecture like that. We need to do deep research on it. So this is to address some of, but again, the coordination is there, and I think it is interesting and important that we can change mentality again. We can endorse these principles and values of tolerance in education, in the school, in the families, so that we can avoid such behavior, hate behavior, and killing each other just for power, for the seat, for money, for whatever. So this is also something that we need to put into account. So Ubuntu, just to address this question, it is not codified. However, it is a component of our values in African Union. And all the time, the people who give an idea about human rights, they also tackle the question of Ubuntu and other principles. Please go ahead. I had a question, also very interesting question yesterday on the sovereignty and the balance between human rights and sovereignty. This is also another issue, and I can maybe explain the fact that our organs are not really very efficient by the fact that the sovereignty in our countries is a priority. So sovereignty, this means that I'm free, I do whatever I want. Because I have the volunty, I can ratify the instrument or not. If not, I'm out of the circle. And again, human rights, rule of law, democracy, it's a pathway, it's a very long one. We need to do more to put it in our texts and instruments is not enough. I think it is much more than that, and this balance is very, very difficult in our countries, and few countries reach this balance. However, I think it is not impossible, and we just need a new generation to think about it and to have the right political will. And I think as a phénomène de boule de neige, it will be cover all these issues together, including conflicts, disasters in Africa. In this chapter, I just tackled the wrecks, and I said that the beginning was the Lagos Plan of 1980, and after we have the Treaty of Abuja. And you remember yesterday I told you about the idea of Senghor. Senghor said we are not able to do the unity of Africa immediately. Let's begin to reinforce the different wrecks. That means the regional communities. That means that we have just go after the next one, you can have the component. These are the 8 economic communities that we have. IGAD, SADC, IAC, SENSAD, ECAS, ECOWAS, COMESA, and United, the UMA, or the Arab Maghreb Union. So the idea is to strengthen these different economic communities at least at the economic side, and after that, the social, cultural, political side, till we have the unity of the whole Africa. And all the Agenda 2063 is built on this idea. Let's strengthen the integration at the sub-regional level, and after that, we can have integration and we can have the unity at the continental level. However, there was a question on that also. I appreciated the question who said, is it efficient, this question of integration on sub-regional communities? You are right. I will just give you the example of the region I know very well. It's the region from where I come, the North, Arab Maghreb Union. I think we have just the union by name. It is not a union. We have a common history, we have a common language, we have a common religion, we have a common ambitions. However, do you know that the percentage, and this is not me who says, it is statistics, you can go to the Arab Maghreb Union website and you can see the statistics. They said the statistic of the, the economic relationship is 4%, only 4%. And our different states, Tunisia, Algeria, whatever, they have more connection with Europe, with states from Europe than with each other. We do not have a court like in other region like COMESA or ECOWAS. In other regions, they have their court on justice and court on human rights. They have universities. Some regions, they have even their common money. They have the same currency. We are not yet there. In Yuma, we have also two countries who have till now borders, and you cannot pass from one country to another. So you can imagine that also these are issues that are not very pleasant, and if you do not succeed the integration at all the regions with the same level, you cannot go to the other level, at the continental level. So this is an obstacle, a challenge, because the integration in these different tracks is not the same. Another point is the there is a redundancy. Some states are at the same time in the Maghreb Union, they are in ECOWAS and they are in CENSAD. So they have double emploi, they are in different regions at the same time. And this is also an important issue. And about the functioning of these RECs and their adequacy with African Union and with member states, still now we are not yet defining them. You know, the reform came with a component, with a very important point that said we need to clarify the relationship between AU, the RECs, and the membership. And the mid-coordination meeting is aimed to that. Now, after the reform, from 2017 till now, we never saw this interaction between three of them. Till now, we are not defining very well, we are not strategizing, and we are not giving the boundaries between this connection and how we can do more than that. I give you another example. Sometimes the court, the African Court of Human and People's Rights, have a case and the jurisprudence completely different from the RECs. In the RECs, you can find in ECOWAS, in COMESA, their code. Sometimes the same case, it is different from ECOWAS or COMESA from the one at the continental level. More than that, for the question of the sanctions, in African Union, and you will go to that when you have coup d'etat or unconstitutional changement of government, you are ejected. You are no more, you are suspended, you know, you are not able to come to the meetings, to the summit. So you are just suspended by the sanctions and by the rules. However, in the sub-regional committee, they are not rejected, they are not suspended, they are already member and they do nothing with them and they continue the work. So there is a lot of contradictions that should be harmonized in the future. Please go to the next slide. Let's go. So this is why I finished with this one. Now I just need to put the light on AUCL. This is an organ that is not very well known, or maybe not known at all, maybe on the 400 or more than 400 on the participants. When I ask them about AUCL, they do not know anything. I was member of AUCL for 8 years and I was even the chairperson. When I am in the podium, in front of me there is this plaque AUCL. During the break, I go to the member states and I ask them, do you know what is AUCL? What are these acronyms? No one knows. So I just, all the time I do this networking and try to tell them, we are the little sister of ILC, the International Law Commission at the United Nations. Please go the next. They are doing codification of international law. Next. So on AUCL, if you go, these are some pictures just to give you an idea about our different yeah, this was the day when I was elected with the new bureau with the vice chair, Professor Kevin, who is actually the chair, and Her Excellency Ambassador Kalima. So she was the rapporteur general. Now there is a new member. Me, I finished my membership. Ambassador Kalima finished also her membership. There is new elected members. We elected them this month. It is going very fast. 6 new members were elected this month during the session. So next one. I said that concerning the, you remember yesterday I told you about the Article 4 on the organs. The AUCL was not there when the Constitutive Act was written in 2002. This body came later, 2009. And that's why I told you that the paragraph 2 of the article was open. They said we can add any other organ. And this organ, AUCL, came under the Article 5, paragraph 2, because it's a new organ that was not planned and planified in the Constitutive Act in 2002. It came at 2009 because it is just the issue of codification of international law, exactly like ILC, International Law Commission. Me, as a student of international law and professor of international law, I go in all the definitions, all the main principles of international law, to the studies of ILC and to the jurisprudence of the ICJ. These are the 2 pillars of international law. So you can understand that the codification and the development, progressive development of international law is very important, and we need an organ for that. And that's why also, if I just match with the Pan-African Parliament, I told you yesterday about the role of Pan-African Parliament as the legislative arm of African Union. For instance, they do not legiferate. They do not legiferate. They do not have this component of doing the codification of international law for African continent. This is AUCL mandate. You can also see in the mandate with the Article 4 of AUCL statutes that AUCL is doing even the model law. And the model law, at the same time, the Pan-African Parliament said, no, model law, it's the PAP, the Pan-African Parliament. So you can also feel some redundant mandates, and we do not pay attention to these details. So AUCL have done a lot of model law, I will go after to the model law, but more than that, they've done studies, for a lot of studies, and I'm sure no one knows about them. If you do some research on the website, you cannot find a website of AUCL, and you can find nothing about our studies, and I will give you the reasoning why. So also they have to encourage teaching, study, publication, and dissemination of works on international law. Me, as a professor at that time, I knew Professor Virginia Morris because of this component, encouraging teaching, study, publication, and dissemination of international law. And we met with her when she came to our session of AUCL in, I remember very well, in Accra, in Ghana. And we discussed 2016 something or 15, we discussed issues of how we can encourage teaching, study, publication, and dissemination of international law. And she came with wonderful ideas. However, at that time, I was just beginning with AUCL. I didn't understand that the budget of AUCL is nothing. It's about, can you understand that this an organ with 11 elected members, and they have a lot to do. You can see studies, go to the studies. You can see the list of the studies, the structure. We have 11 members elected, but go with the studies. Can you see, these are the forums they do forums each year. This year it will be in May, I think, yes, in May, and it will be on AFCFTA and trade. But we have really done a lot of other forums on all issues of international law. But I need you to see, to have a glance on the studies. Go to the next one. Next, this was in Malabo, our forum. I just put here the challenge. All the studies we are doing at that time until now are very limited and very slow. The context is very slow and the manner they advance is very slow. If we can see the different, go ahead with the slide, the next one. I just put you here some of the studies done with AUCL and who no one knows because they are still in the archive of AUCL. These are the beginning of AUCL. I'm telling you about an organ that have more than 15 years old. It began with professors really very well known, Prof. Bless Shikaya, Shaykh Tidjadian, Professor Rafa Ben Ashur, Professor and Ambassador Ebenezer Apreku. All these people have done a lot for AUCL. Their studies still now, after 14 years, they are still in the archive and no one knows about them. It's about ratification of the treaty, the universal criminal jurisdiction, legal basis for reparation for slavery in Africa, delimitation, demarcation in Africa. And after I came and I have 4 studies, one on the African Convention on Judicial Cooperation and Mutual Assistance, and I've done another African Convention on Extradition. Next. There is also a lot of other studies, promotion of teaching study, etc., international law in Africa, environmental law in Africa. This is ongoing study. I've done an African model convention on non-double taxation. I've done a study on immunity in international law. Other colleagues there, they've done our ongoing. It's about piracy, mining vision in Africa, draft model law in different issues on protocol on women's rights, dissemination of the Charter on Welfare of the Child, the question of IDPs. There was a model law on IDPs convention. There is a convention or African Convention Against Slavery. And last of them with Professor Mohammed Hilal is wonderful. He's doing a lot of issues on tendency of international law like cybersecurity. And he finished the peace and security. He proposed the African voice or the African understanding of how we can tackle the question of cybersecurity and cyberspace law. And he also is dealing with IT and with other issues on new tendency on international law. And all these studies with zero fund. Can you understand that the members of AUCL, they have no counterpart, they have no researchers, they have no money, no funds to deal with their studies. All the budget of AUCL, and it is decreasing from one year to another, is about $40,000. This even not sufficient to cover a session. You know, in the sessions, they have 2 sessions a year. Each session is 2 weeks. And just to cover more than 2/3 of the budget go to the interprets. The interprets, we need at least 4, French and English, so 2 and 2. And each interpret, he has, his salary is $500 per day, a day, plus the tickets, etc. Can you understand how an organ like that, it's a young organ, this is not very well known, however, they are doing a lot, and at the same time, they do not have the means nor the tools. So if no budget, plus no secretariat, they have not an independent secretariat, it's OLC, it's our Office of the Legal Counsel who serves as secretariat. So even me, I'm understaffed. I only have 6 people in the office. And these people, I divide them when the session is there to go and to be at the service of AUCL. Can you understand all these issues? There is no headquarters, and still now, 2017, Equatorial Guinea offered the headquarters to AUCL. However, there is other 2 countries who came on board, and to deal with the headquarters, there is a lot of steps. Even with these studies, even if they are finalized, they need them. I will tell you why they are in the archive. They will need them translated in all the AU languages, and this is costing a lot, and AUCL has no budget for that. So you cannot go through the Justice and Legal Affairs. I told you about yesterday the STC, the different specialized committee of the PRC, and one of them is Justice and Legal Affairs. So all the conventions, draft conventions, to go to the step of the member states, it should go through the STC, Justice and Legal Affairs. There is pending studies for years now, who are supposed to go to the SEC Justice and Legal Affairs, and they never come. So this is just to tell you about the invisibility. We are invisible. AUCL is not well known. They even do not have funds to create their own website. That's why you can discover nothing, and it's a pity, because all the AUCL is doing is a subject and an object for the researchers, for the people who need to know more. As for ILC, you can see you can go on the website and you can have instantly all they are dealing day by day. Because again, it's another, we cannot compare an organ to one who have more than 75 years old. We are a young organ and we are trying. I tried when I was chair of the organ to do everything. I knocked at all the doors. I tried with partners. I tried to speak to the member states. However, the challenges are still there. So you can understand these people who are there are very courageous to continue the work without any tools, nor means, nor budget. However, I think it's very important. The AUCL is a very important organ. Please, next. This is, before I came, this was the former legal counsel, Ambassador Namira from Egypt. So the tendency is to do what is called the meeting where the Office of the Legal Counsel meet with AUCL. Now I'm doing the same. So there is a retreat between the Legal Counsel and the Commission of International Law, and there is an agenda, and they discuss together questions of common interest, because all of it's about law, and we need to coordinate and to have synergies together, because these elected people, they are in general professors or judges or ambassadors, and they are not permanent in Addis Ababa. They do not know about the complexity of African Union. They are just people who do research. The link with the Office of the Legal Counsel is very important, so they can strategize their priorities, the choice of their studies, and how they can promote the work, and how they can ask partners. And that's why all the time when the AUCL come and do session, there is a retreat with the Office of the Legal Counsel. Next. Concerning now, please, next. Yeah, other organs, just I told you about other organs, and I put all of them very quickly here so that you can have the whole picture. ECOSOG is a very important organ. It has now 20 years. They have their birthday the last year. ECOSOG is just the component that gives the civil society organization and diaspora a voice within AU's institution. And next, please. Here you can see the different objectives of the ECOSOG as organ. Next, I will not go through details because I have a lot to share with you. Next one, I told you about the anniversary, it was the last year. And next, you can here have the institutes. I think I put the picture of, no, it's fine, I didn't put the picture. So now I just go to the financial institution. Very important to know that African Union already had financial institutions like the African Central Bank, like the African Monetary Fund, like the African Investment Bank, and all of them are component of the integration, especially economic integration. However, next slide. If you can see the role and the importance of each of these financial institutions and its objective, however, none of them is operationalized. So we saw none of them. They are just on paper. So we have our African Investment Bank, but it is not a reality. Next, we have also our African Central Bank, and you can see here its objective to promote international monetary cooperation through permanent institution, promote exchange with rate flexibility, even to dedicate to Africa its own money. We are in Africa, however, our money here, or when we go to the African Union to get our per diem or our salary, it is in dollar. And between the countries, we have not the same money. When we compare to Europe, they began their integration on the economic basis more than 80 years ago. And now they have the euro, and the euro is one of the high-level currency in the world. So this is also a component of the efficiency of integration and the success of integration. However, we are not yet there. So we do not have really an African Central Bank. Next. Also on the paper, we have the African Monetary Fund. However, it is not a reality till now. And in each summit, they do a decision to say it is now time to operationalize the financial institutions. We have several of them are in Libya. Their headquarters are in Libya. However, again, there is a lot of challenges at the same time, circumstances that are not together ready for our financial institution to begin the work. However, I think it is compulsory to succeed the integration, especially at the financial and at the economic level. Next. When we come now to the Auda NEPAD, this is a very important component. It was at the beginning NEPAD, and after it is called Auda NEPAD because this is the new appellation of it. It becomes the African Union Development Agency. It is exactly that, like UNDP at the United Nations level, UNDP. It's about development in Africa, and they are dealing a lot. You can see the mandate: coordinate, execute priority regional and continental projects to promote regional integration towards the acceleration of the Agenda 2063, etc. They have really a lot to do. However, again, the question is about the challenges and the reality of our African countries. Next. This is Her Excellency Nardos. She is the Chief Executive Officer of our Africa, Auda NEPAD, and she's doing a lot, and she is also working hand to hand with AFCFTA because it's about development, it's about economic integration. Next slide. Now I put here some few information about the new baby. I told you about the launch of the African Space Agency in Cairo, in Egypt, the last week. I came from Egypt because I'm myself as legal counsel, member of the committee board of the African Space Agency. You know, when the Africa began to think about African Space Agency, Africans and member states said we do not have any budget for that. We do not master the land to master the space. So really there was a lot of resistance from the African countries, and they did not believe in AFSA. However, as I said, there is courageous people who insisted so that this idea of the African Space Agency come to the light, and the new baby is born. And next you can have the elected people. All this, it's an organ. This is a new organ on the basis of Article 5, Paragraph 2. Next, you can see the picture of the inauguration of AFSA in Egypt, and this is the elected chair of the organ, His Excellency Tidjane Ouattara, who is the current chairperson. Next, and you can see also the different elected bodies. Dr. Tidjane Ouattara is permanent, so he's not elected like the other organs. The only two organs who are permanent in the headquarters are the chair of the court, African Court of and People's Rights, and the African Space Council. They are the ones who are elected and at the same time permanent, so they do not do anything else, just they concentrate on this mission. Next. So concerning now the part 2, I finished with the organs, institutions, the architecture of the African Union. Please do share any questions. I will tackle them. I took, as I said, a lot of questions of yesterday, and I will go through them one by one when I finish the presentation. I tried in the part 2 to put the light on some principles that are innovative, that are they are adding to the positive international law, and you can find nowhere in international positive law. And I took 4 examples. The first one, next, is the Article 4H. Sorry, I didn't put this. No, next, go next. This is in French. The Article 4H, just, yes, if you remember yesterday, I told you about the right to intervene in the member states in case of international crimes, in case of gross crimes, like the crimes against humanity, crime of genocide. All these international crimes, they give the opportunity to the member states, to the AU, to decide and to intervene for humanitarian purpose to stop these international crimes. So this is the plus value. This is something that you can find nowhere. When you go to the charter was written in 1945 after the World War II. On that time, there was not the idea or the doctrine of droit d'ingérence of Betati and Kouchner. It was a French doctrine coming in the 80s. And after that, there was a responsibility to protect, the one who are dealing with international law, they know the evolution to Evans and Sahnoun report 2009 with the Kofi Annan, and after came 2015, and they said we will not touch the charter, because me, I'm just trying to find the link with what is occurring today in some regions like Sudan, like Gaza, Palestine, Ukraine, etc. So the Security Council, as you know, of United Nations, they have this possibility to intervene on the basis of Chapter 7. So it's about an interpretation of threatening the peace and security in the world, and they can go through the Chapter 7, and these are the humanitarian resolution. And it was just evaluating till 2011 when came the responsibility to protect as a doctrine, but as a practice with the case of Libya, 1973. Resolution of United Nations Peace and Security. However, again, we have our personal or our regional organs. I've told you about Peace and Security Council, who has the mandate. And we have also this breach, this Article 4H, that is revolutionary in the international law, positive international law. However, at any time, African Union took the decision to go to the Article 4H to go and to seize these international crimes in the African continent. So all the time it is through the United Nations, and here I put that it should be exercised with the authorization of Security Council, and all the details came later with some additional instruments. It was not put in detail with the Article 4H. It is true that it is revolutionary from normative perspective. However, how to implement that and how to give a role to the Peace and Security Council, the possibility to seize these international crimes, we are not yet there. So it is just revolutionary on a theoretical purpose. Next. I also here put the second specificity of our instruments is about how to tackle the unconstitutional chains of government and how to respect democracy and good governance and human rights and rule of law in our continent. I already addressed the AU Constitutive Act and the principles of Article 4 yesterday and told you how they go to details and how they need that is a principle, it's a general principle in the Constitutive Act to respect the human rights, rule of law, democracy, and to have a regime sanction of all the unconstitutional government, unconstitutional changement of government. More than that, we have a charter on democracy. This is one of the wonderful texts African Union had done. The African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance of January 13, 2007, go there. And you can see really a catalog of democracy with all components of how we can reach democracy in our countries. And please go next. And this is, if we compare it to the other continental frameworks, apart from inter-American frameworks, I think we are one of the best having instruments on democracy and how to rule on democracy. You can see here also the cases of unconstitutional changement of government. His Excellency Judge Youssef yesterday, he tackled some of them. So coup d'etat is not the only way that can be qualified as unconstitutional changement of government. You can see here 5 cases. Among these cases, any intervention by mercenaries. This is a case of changement and unconstitutional changement of government. Any intervention by armed dissident groups or rebel movements to overthrow a democratically elected government. Any refusal by an incumbent government to hand over power to the winning party or candidate following free, fair, and regular elections. Any amendment, even this 5th point is very important. If you amend or you revise your constitution or your legal instruments, and this revision or amendment is undermining the principles of democratic alternation, for example, the president will say, I will be there for life. This is an unconstitutional changement of government. Can you see the whole picture? Can you see how it is extensive and how it is really governing and covering a lot of issues? However, if you can, you may pay attention on what is it? It's a charter. and the charter has just a moral value. It has not a binding value. So this is a charter that can inspire our different local and national instruments, but it cannot bind us. Please go ahead, and we can here feel also how the legislator next even tackle the sanctions. So this is the Rule 37 of Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, where you can find the different sanctions, and they begin with denial of visa, restriction on the government's contracts, trade restriction. After that, sanctions provided with the Article 23, paragraph 2 of the Constitutive Act of Rules of Procedure, and this means, as I tell you, suspension. So we have now 5 suspended countries. Among them we have Burkina Faso, we have I remember there are 5 countries. I will just remember them and I will tell you. But you know, all these countries, they are suspended. That means that they are not allowed to come to the AU summits, to the AU meetings. They are not allowed to be invited to any of the AU meetings, but they are not also allowed to send any candidature for any elected or leadership in the continent, even for the membership of the boards or any of the other organs or structures. They are not allowed to do, and it's an escalation. It depends on the kind of sanctions we have. If you can go to the Article 23, you can find different kind of sanctions. So now I go. Just the comment is, it's wonderful that we have all this legal framework. However, on the practice side, it is a pity that we do not respect our instruments, and we have, in general, I do not need to give any example, but we are Africans and we come from African countries, and we can say that we have a deficit of democracy and rule of law in our countries, and that's a pity. This is also another very innovative convention. It is called Kampala Convention, and this it is dealing with IDPs, the internally displaced persons. What is the difference between IDPs and refugees? The refugees, they move from one country to another. So they go from one country to another, they cross the borders. But displaced persons, they are internal, they are in the country. They go from the south to the north, from the west to the west, etc. That means that the internally displaced persons, in case of, and the Kampala Convention, why it is unique and it is innovative, because in international law, in positive international law, you have not a text, positive text, that are giving rights and protecting the IDPs. The only text is about administrative rules in the United Nations, Principe Directeur of the Secretary General of United Nations, that is not a binding document. So the only and the first international convention is Kampala Convention, and AUCL have done what is called the model law, so that you can disseminate it internally at the internal level. In this text, you can find a lot of cases how IDPs come. They can come after unconstitutional government change, or they can come after natural disasters, or after conflicts, or after if we have new constructions, the government will tell them to move, etc. So this kind of text has a lot of solutions: prevention, response, and durable solution, and it is really very well written. However, again, when you come to the truth and to the reality, the IDPs have the protection of international organization and other NGOs, not with the African Union one, because again, it needs a lot of funds, and we are not yet there. There is even a fund with the IDPs, if you can see the articles at the last part. However, this fund, for instance, zero. There is nothing in it so that they can give a counterpart or compensation for the people who have lost after an earthquake or whatever catastrophe, natural catastrophe. These are the kind of compensation the population need. So it's, again, you can see that we have a lot of rules, instruments. They are wonderful. They are very well written. However, the implication and practical issues is another issue. Next, please. So the IDPs, as I said, this is the number. You can go to the statistics. I think IDPs in the world, in the continent of Africa, we have the most important number, millions of displaced persons, and again, these are a disaster on the basis of humanitarian aid and assistance. Next. I also have chosen to tell you about AFCFTA. This agreement that is establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area is a very important instrument for integration in Africa. And AFCFTA was signed in an extraordinary session, and it was said a historic agreement. And it is one of the rare instruments that was ratified with a signed and ratified with a huge number of states. If you can see the slogan here, towards one market of Africa, one market. That means that the first step will be to have this integration, to have no taxes, to have no boundaries between the countries, and we are billion, I think 2.4 billion population, so you can understand the implication on financially speaking and trade if we have our connection within African countries. Next. You can also, these are the pictures of the extraordinary session creating the AFSA in Kigali, Rwanda. Next picture. You can see also the former legal counsel, Ambassador Namira Najm at that time, and this was the signature of this AFCFTA. Next. And also the inauguration of the AFCFTA with the former chairperson of the commission, and now we have champion of AFCFTA, and this is the champion of AFCFTA, who came each year to have the report on the advancement of AFCFTA. However, we have also now the headquarters of AFCFTA in Ghana, and this treaty has a lot of annexes, wonderful annexes that tackle all the questions of trade, but even the commercial issues, intellectual property issues, investment disputes, settlement, the questions of the e-money, the e-trade, all these issues came with trade, and I think that this is the future. And if we can succeed the economic integration, everything will be possible after. And this is exactly what the European Union had done. They succeeded there economic integration, and after that came the political, the social integration. However, again, there is a lot of challenges, and one of them is the connection between the capitals of Africa. Me, as Tunisian, to come to Addis Ababa, I have to go to Istanbul. To go to Rwanda, I go to Doha. It's just I'm giving you example how there is no connection between our capitals. There is boundaries, there is visa. This AFCFTA came with the idea of an open sky and with the idea of the African passport. Me as a, can you understand that even I am having the diplomatic passport, the red passport. The diplomatic passport gives you the possibility to go to the 55 member states without any visa. However, because we have still these security obsessions, some states tell you that your passport, diplomatic passport, do not allow you to enter and you need a visa. Can you understand that? So there is a lot of challenges. We are not believing really in this integration because there is still boundaries, there is still visa, there is still people who are having a lot of problems and issues with their connection, if they are businessmen. The things are still bureaucratic. There is not really the political will to go through this economic integration and to go with the AFCFTA, as it is a very important, as I said, component of integration. We are not yet there, and that's why the Secretariat of AFCFTA in Ghana, with the executive secretary, they are doing a lot and they are trying. And to connect the people, to connect the businessmen, to connect the experts in the matter, and above all, to convince the leaders to begin something. This is how to build united Africa. Just if you can go to the statistics, it is not me, you can find that online. It is better to have, products from China. Not better, it is more easy to have products from China than products from Uganda to Kenya. Can you understand that the cost of something that comes from Uganda to Kenya costs much more, maybe 10 times more than something coming from China to to Uganda or to Kenya. This is just to give you an idea about the very difficult, challenging issues on how we can be flexible and we can move with these boundaries in our countries so that we can build a flourished continent and a more powerful continent. So I think there is a lot to be done. And it's again a lot of issues together. It is not only AU, it is not the role of AU only, it's the responsibility of all the stakeholders. And above all, I think also the political will should be there. I choose to finish with the part 3 because this is something that I was asked to tell you about. What is the mandate of the Office of the Legal Counsel? This is the picture of the last extraordinary session, the 15th of April. So these are 2 weeks ago. And during this extraordinary session, we've done elections. And the Office of the Legal Counsel do not only do election. Next slide. You can see they have a board, we have a border mandate. It begins with providing a unified central legal service, not only for the AU Commission, but for all AU, all the structures. I'm dealing with you. I'm explaining to you since yesterday, all the organs, structures, departments, the one in Addis Ababa and the one abroad, even the different focal points in New York, in Beijing, in Belgium, all of them. When they need any clarification or legal advice, they ask the Office of the Legal Counsel. They also can ask interpretation of AU legal instruments, as we do not have till yet now the African Court of Justice. Normally, the Court of Justice, in their instruments, they are the one who interpreted the AU legal instruments. However, for instance, it is to the Office of the Legal Counsel to give interpretation of any legal instruments, to conduct elections, any elections in Addis and abroad, for any organ, for all the elected organs. Plus, giving legal advice on cooperation with international organizations. For instance, I'm telling you that the legal counsel is the one who will go to the ICJ or to other international courts to give the AU voice, the 55 member states voice, the African Union position, and that's why I told you about some of I will go through the pictures, you can see them. Plus, we are the one who do the secretariat of AUCL, as I said. This is just telling you that plus that we have the day-to-day work, daily work. The daily work consists that any instrument that come to AU should be cleaned by the Office of the Legal Counsel. MOUs, contracts, any document that come for any department, it should come through the Office of the Legal Counsel. Any problem that can occur in the office or in the properties, question of immunities, any person here who have a problem with his car that was under expropriation, etc. Some person have said that I was arrested by the police and I have immunity, any problem. This is the Office of the Legal Counsel. At the same time, I give you the challenges. Do you know, and I told you that yesterday, if I compare the Office of the Legal Counsel to the Office of the Legal Counsel of United Nations, there is no comparison. They have departments, they are very well structured. Even some countries, I have some people coming, ambassadors and other Minister of Foreign Affairs, and they tell me in their countries, they have more than 160 persons in their staff. I'm only with 6. 3 regular, 3 lab. Lab is the officers who are just there for 1 year and they disappear, because this is just a partner who give them the opportunity to come and to have an experience with the Office of the Legal Counsel for their CV and for the future. It is just 1 year and they disappear, and they have to renew each year new people to have this possibility. So the ones who are interested by the Office of the Legal Counsel, there is all the time on the African Union website, sometimes the candidature for this kind of issues, but also we are recruiting. So initially, the structure is about 40 people. However, just for instance, I have only 6 people, but really it's there 3 people. I have 3 regular. The other one are laps, as I'm saying, they are not regular, they come and they go. Can you understand all these different mandates? It's the Office of the Legal Counsel with only 3 people. So this is just to tell you how it's very challenging. And I can tell you that we forgot our private life, we forgot the holidays. Myself, I was here for 1 year. I was appointed and designated after I finished my duty with AUCL. I was shortlisted through 600 people, and I was designated as the legal counsel on the 6th of February 2024. And till now, I have never had 1 day of leave, just to tell you that we have no holidays at all. Even with the Christmas, with the Eid, we continue working even after midnight. We never stop. This is just to tell you how it is very difficult, very really hard and difficult, and the people who are dealing with the office of the legal counsel can understand the challenges and the responsibility. And that's why the people who resist are very ambitious, and they know that they have a vision and a mission, and they like the work they are dealing with. So I think being in office of the legal counsel is the most difficult. If you have a parenthesis office of the legal counsel, everything will be easy. And the one who leave, they said we learned a lot. Myself, I'm learning a lot, being professor of international law for 26 years. And after I come to the real life, because here is the real life, it's the practice of the law, and it's completely different. I forgot to tell you that also we have to deal with all the cases of the tribunal, administrative tribunal, and they are more and more. So if there is a functionary who has a problem with the chairperson of any department, and he goes to the tribunal, administrative tribunal, the office of the legal counsel has the duty and the obligation to respond, to cover the African Union and the legal personality of the African Union is the chairperson. So on behalf of the chairperson, we are the one who respond. So it's a lot of investigation. You can understand how many cases we have pending, and we have deadlines, and this is very challenging. So the team is very little team that we have to deal with all these issues together. Next, please. Here I put some pictures so that you can see. I didn't have time to go through the environment law and the plus value of African Union in environmental law. So this is just to tell you that the Office of the Legal Counsel go to the ICJ on the 6th of December together with other states, member states, about 20 member states, to give the submission on the question of climate change and the responsibilities of the states in case of, and their obligations for this generation and the future generation because of climate change. Next. So these issues of the climate change, 10 December, not 6, sorry. So this is when I go to the ICJ, I do not go just because I have something I written personally. Behind that, there is a lot of workshops next, and you can see in the pictures how we gather. This is the team. Next, we gather with the member states. This is what is called the how to say, we've done a lot of workshops online. We go to New York, this is in New York, to gather the point of view of the different member states and to have a better understanding of what will be the voice of Africa and how we can defend Africa's voice in case of climate change. Why? Just next, the next one, if you can, this is ITLOS, also the team before I came, they go to ITLOS and they've done a wonderful defense in front of ITLOS, and the questions of climate change, also hearings. They gave wonderful jurisprudence from ITLOS. Next, just this is the map I need to comment. Why we need to tackle all these issues together and why climate change is very important. It is just because if you can see the map, the red color is in our continent. So we are responsible only of 3.5% of the emissions of gas. However, we are the continent who bear the most the climate change consequences. So climate change consequences, for example, the weather is really, we cannot understand how we can. In Tunisia, I'll give you the example. The last year in January, we have something like 42 degrees. I was in Egypt, it was 46 degrees. We are in spring and in winter. Normally we have 0 degrees, 2, 3 degrees. We never saw that. 46 degrees. We have also temperature going till 52 in Libya and Tunisia. in Iraq, I remember this was temperature that we never saw before. When it's about high temperature, it's about zone, the ozone, the trou d'ozone. We have the hole. We have also the question of the rain. We have no more rain. So this is a question of water. I think that the next wars will be wars about water. If you do not find water, there is no food, there is no fertilized land, there is no life. The life will just disappear. So can you understand that these issues of environmental and climate change can have implication for the next generation? So the next generation will tell us why you did say nothing, why you didn't go to the international arena to defend and to give the voice of Africa on these issues. That's why going to ICJ in one of the most important rendezvous concerning the climate change and the environmental issue was very important. And we've done that after at least 4 workshops so that we can gather the voice of Africa and how we can tackle that and how we can draw our written statements and our oral statements. And you can see even the ones who are more curious, you can see that we have a thesis that is completely different from the most industrialized countries, because it is based on compensation, on reparation, and other issues that give the right for African countries to bear this responsibility, because we are not the one who are responsible of this climate change. However, we have the consequences of it. And this is why this red color just speaks for itself. Please, the next. We have also the opportunity to do some what is called the AU Law Week, the African Union Law Week. This is something we do each year. And it's like a forum, it is like a forum. And I think even the Office of the Legal Counsel of United Nations do the same. So we choose, it's concerning the theme of the year, or sometimes it's about a date or a symbolic date. In 2024, the symbolic date was 10 years after Malabo Protocol. And we had at that time the first ratification of Angola. And we told ourselves it was really interesting that we address all these issues of the merge of Court of Justice and Human Rights Court and the criminal jurisdiction. And we've done this workshop in AU Law Week, and we gathered people from the court, judges from the court, experts. We gathered professional, we gathered professors, students who are interested in Malabo Protocol, and now all the articles will be published very soon. So this is the kind of things we can do. It is just to do some events on the basis of new tendency on emerging notions of international law, or we need, I forgot to tell you, one of our mandate and the most important is about dissemination of international instruments of African Union. You can find pictures, we put a lot of pictures when a member state come to deposit the instruments of ratification of some instruments. So at that time we put and we disseminate what is this instrument, how many ratification, we congratulate the state and we encourage the other state, he will inspire the other states to come and ratify. So our mission, inter alia, is to encourage the instrument, the member states to ratify and to sign the instruments. And if you can go again on the website of AU, you can find the legal instruments and you can find the status of the instruments. And you can find in the status, it's really surprising. And Professor Virginia Maurice is doing a lot on this also. You can find that there is instruments that never came into force because they are not ratified but by enough member states, the 15 numbers, to allow the instrument to come into force for years, for more than 20 years, 30 years. You can find also that the member states who signed, they didn't finish the cycle, they didn't ratify, they didn't deposit. So when you sign, it is nothing. The instrument is just there and it is not ratified, so it will not become part of your legal internal instruments. That's why as I'm saying, we have this rule, and we have this role to encourage the member states to ratify our wonderful instruments. We have one of the really best legal arena. When you go through the instruments, they tackle all the domains. However, the problem is that they are just not well known, not ratified, or if ratified, not well disseminated, and at the internal level, they do not do enough. So this is also the role of the Pan-African Parliament to encourage the member states to disseminate the international instruments at the African Union level. Next, we can also see this is our interaction with AUCL. Next, and this is where just it's chronological. When I come in February, I went in the same month to the ICJ for Palestine. This was the International Court of Justice Palestine Advisory Opinion. And I will leave today. I have a flight today to go to The Hague because we have the second advisory opinion on UNRWA and the question of humanitarian assistance. I began Monday yesterday, and the Judge Abdel Qawi Yusuf, you can see him on the podium because he is also part of the court, ICJ, and this is a very important rendezvous, and we need to also to cover this. And African Union will be the last speaker. We will be at Friday, so the last day of the week and the last time at 6 p.m. The Hague time. So this is a double responsibility, and here you can go to the website and you can find our written statement already. The written statement is available. It is in English and it is online. I have it, just I put it here because I have to run after this. I have also finished the oral statement, but I have a team, so we still discuss how we put it because we are the last ones. We have not to repeat. We do not have to be redundant. So we will tackle the arguments of the member states who deny the rights of the Palestinians for assistance and who deny for UNRWA to be there. So this is the strategy. When you are the last one, you have to give the good impression and how to say, you have to give something else, a plus value, not repeat all what was said. That's why it's a huge responsibility being the last one. And we are all the time the last one. In general, the international organizations are at the last part. I think yesterday they began with the United Nations, and I saw the Legal Council of United Nations, and after Palestine, and you can just follow the ones who are interested. Next, please. So this is advisory opinion. It is not, someone yesterday asked about the case of South Africa. It's another thing. It's a settlement dispute of between Israel and South Africa, and South Africa is inspiring a lot because they are doing a lot, and they are really pushing the International Court of Justice to give a landmark decision on these issues. I put you here the different books I wrote, or I'm under the supervision. It's French, but I think with Google translation now everything is possible. So the handbook I told you about yesterday, it's very important and it is for free. However, the books I'm writing and the articles, the PowerPoint presentation, everything is available on academia.edu. Everything is available, PDF version. You can find everything I've done really for the 10 last years. I involved myself a lot in articles, books, and other research with African Union because I observed that we have not enough. We have not enough research or not enough expertise and not enough doctrine, at least from the French perspective, on our instruments, on our organs, on our strategies, Agenda 2063. So that's why I tried, and I hope that there will be a new generation who can continue these efforts. And that's why I told you yesterday about the unique master's degree in University of Carthage dealing with African Union law. Next. I also tried with some partners to initiate the radio Voice of Africa in Tunisia. For 1 year, if you go to YouTube and you put Voice of radio Voice of Africa, I've done what is called podcasts, and I have at least 20 podcasts. Each is 40 minutes. All what I said now, since yesterday, is in Arabic. So I just tried. I told myself, why not this kind of podcast? We can refer to people everywhere in the world. It is in Arabic. So thank you for the interpret, and I'm sorry if I'm going very fast. But the Arabic people who need just to follow this with details, I tackled all the AU organs, instruments, and I think it can be useful because it is for free and it is available, and all the different 20 podcasts are available, and all of them are about AU institutions, organs, and instruments, but it is in Arabic language. And this is really, how you said, we have no funds, this is benevolent, voluntaries. We do not have a lot of money. We do with les moyens du bord. So this is really tiny things, but I think it can give people who are not lawyers, who are not experts, who are not professional, an idea about Pan-Africanism, about AU components, etc. Because this is what I just felt when it's about my family, the taxi I go with, when they ask about Addis Ababa, they ask about Pan-Africanism, they ask about the people who've done all that. And thank you for some person yesterday said you didn't say nothing about some founders. So we have no time, but you can see UNESCO have done the encyclopedia of Pan-Africanism with wonderful videos on all the people who have done a lot for Pan-Africanism. So this is my way, my personal way to disseminate African Union connaissance, and this is also the education and how we can disseminate with different tools. Today, the new generation is very phone, they do not go to 500 page book like I've done in the 80s, in the 90s. They are very quick. They need just information very quickly. And here also I need to tell you about the AU, no, not AU, sorry, the library, the Audiovisual Library of United Nations, wonderful website with you can see all the domains of international law with lectures with a lot of languages, including French and English. So it's very interesting to go there because you can find the lectures of Professor Rafa Ben Ashur, Professor Blaise Chikaya, and they are on AU, practice AU law, and they are for free, and you can just consult them and listen to them, because people, they are running, they are really very fast now, they do not have time to read books. So that's why I think with the new tendency, even my students to whom I just addressed all the lectures, they keep the work, and they do podcasts and sometimes very simple YouTube videos, 2-3 minutes, just to cover Peace Security Council, ECOSOC, whatever. These are my students with just a phone. They are doing that, and they are doing wonderful job. It is just to give you more and more ideas, because I know that you are now high tech, so you can do a lot with the very simple means and tools, technologically speaking, but they can influence a lot, because this is visible and can go very fast to this population, African population, so that we can impact. Because what I felt that we are not impacting African Union with the huge work we are doing, we are not reaching the African population who do not know anything about, not all of them, but I think most of them, when you ask them questions in the street, do you know the Banjul Commission? Do you know Charter on Democracy? I'm sure they will tell you nothing. Agenda 2063, this is also a very important instrument that I'm not sure that people know about it. Next, please. Now we can come to the conclusion. Yesterday, someone also asked the question, what is the difference between international public law and the African public law? And the judge, Abdul Qawi Yusuf, addressed this question very well, and I completely adhere with him, but just I will add a remark, an observation. International law, he said, this is universal. It's about United Nations instruments. It's a universal effect. And maybe the sources of it is the Charter of of United Nations. When we go to African public law, it is also international law, but at the continental level. However, for me, The African Union, and this is a personal point of view, and then I can be mistaken. Maybe we can speak about it better. The African Union, for me, till now, it is an organization of cooperation. It is not yet an organization of integration. And African public law is still emerging. We have not yet really a corpus of rules that is called African public law. It is emerging. They are trying. I'm trying to tell you about codification of international law. Do you feel that we have this supranationality? We speak yesterday about sovereignty. So the member states they are still not yet with the supranationality, something that is going after your constitution, or a court that will come back again and do the double jurisdiction, or they recall your jurisdiction when it's about human rights and democracy. We are not still there. Why? And I put here all the challenges. Number one, the procedures are very slow. Our achievements are really delaying and they are slow. We are depending on the foreign donors. If you go to the budget, and now we are with the session retreat on the budget. If you can see the percentage, and we can go to the reform after you can see the circle and the percentage. Do you know that more than 75% of the African Union budget come from partners? So this gives you an idea that if you do not master your budget, you do not master your decisions. So after that, we have, for instance, a problem of political will. All this African public law is wonderful. However, we need it to be effective. We need it to be implemented. So when I tell you yesterday that the member states are even discussing with the organs to delete their names, to delete paragraphs, not to say that they are doing this or that, the 19% or more of the orders of the court are not respected nor implemented. The Peace and Security Council is not very efficient because still today we have conflicts in Africa and they did not stop. All this gives you an idea about the ineffectiveness, and they put here ineffectiveness of the AU working methods. And that's why in 2017, the idea of the reform becomes urgent and a priority. Next. The idea of the reform has two components, institutional and financial. On the institutional, just you see here the dependency, this is 2016, and it is still like that. The dependency is till 75% or more, till now. So the idea of the institutional reform is, number one, to seize this dependency financially speaking. And the solution was to invent a tax. It is called Kaberuka tax, 0.2 on the importation going directly to the African Union budget. But this is also not really a solution because it has not an efficient impact. The second idea next is about how to deal with the institution itself. So here the reform team, I was part of the reform team, but I come late. This team came at 2017. Inter alia, you can see Donald Kaberuka, you can see Carlos Lopez. Me, I came 2018 because one of them left. She's Amina Mohammed. She went to United Nations, so I just take her, the place of her. The reform team since 2017 was trying to give the best solutions on how we can push the institutional reform, how we can give the AU possibility to better its methods of work, and how it can be more practical and efficient. Years after, now we are with the President Ruto, who is the champion of the reform after the President Kagame. So what is the implication of the reform? Very few. All they've done is to go from 2 sessions a year to 1, to go from 8 commissioners to 6. But these are not reforms. The reforms should be more deep than that. All the structure and the idea of the reform is very well done since 2017. It has components, domains, it has a strategy, how to go at the short, the medium, and the long term. However, still again, a lot of questions are there. Is there the political will to do this reform? So you can just, I give you an example. President Ruto, when he came this year with his first report on the reform, he needed to operationalize the ICJ, for example, not ICJ, the Court of Justice. He needed to invest in Peace and Security Council with giving expertise to another committee, etc. He needed to go on the budgetary. So he's done a lot of work, but the decision, after a lot of discussion, as it was the last year, as it was the year before, was not accepted by the member states. So after a lot of discussion, it was, as I told you yesterday, approved with modification. And the modification emptied the text. So there is no decision for 7 years. There is no deep decision to do this reform with a manner that we can have implication, that we can have a better African Union, more efficient, that we can have the link between REX, AU and the member states, that we can have our courts, that we can have the organs can be reinforced, that the Pan-African Parliament become elected member. For instance, they are designated, they are not elected. So all these issues together give you an idea about, I do not need to qualify it as échec. I cannot say no, it is not a success and not a failure. It is in between. Because again, I just need to tell you, because all the questions, what is AU doing, what the OLC doing? It is not the problem of AU. The AU is just giving strategies, giving ideas, giving frameworks, but we are not the one who execute. You have to ask the question to the leaders and to the member state, why you are not executing the decisions. Go to the AU, see the decisions, the number of the decisions of the AU since it was created, and the length of the decisions, more than 100 pages for each decision in each year, plus the extraordinary session. And see after that, as I said yesterday, the implication of that if it is implemented. So I think there is a lot really we have to deepen the analysis on that, but I think most of that, and I keep repeating, political will is not yet there. Next, please. However, again, because I have to conclude, I need all the time to bring positive vibes and to have the hope with the new generation to do better than we did. Agenda 2063, again and again, this is a plan. It is a wonderful aspiration that covers everything with details. We just need to open Agenda 2063 and to begin to implement it and to believe in it. Next. Also in the future, here I just bring some ideas. These texts that are well written, however, they should be implemented. So this is also something that we need to deal with. After the political will, the next, and this is, I think this will be the final slide. Next one. What I needed here also to put in is the integration project. It is a whole. So I think it is not only the African Union, the politicians, but also the African population. We need to know each other. We need to cultivate the desire to live together, le vouloir vivre en commun. Our roots, our history, we have to be proud of what we are doing and what we were and where we are going to. And above all, we need education. We need to strengthen all these together, and we need to connect population together, and we need to allow the association, the civil society, the media, the young people, because they are the future. And they have a lot of desire, a lot of ambition, and they have a lot of ideas and a lot of dreams. So I think it is important also to listen to the new generation and to give them the opportunity to change and to do some change. And I will finish with, some people know it, but some others know, with the theme next of AU. For me, the AU theme, I finish with the AU theme. Please, the next. This is the last. I put that all the time. I even put it with the music. AU theme it is wonderful. It gives hope. Just if you go through it, it's about unity. Let's all unite and celebrate together. The victory is won for our liberation. Let's dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. O sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let's make Africa the tree of life. Let's all unite and sing together to uphold the bands that flame our destiny. So this gives a lot of hope. It's about principles, it's about our values, but at the same time, it's about the future. If we are solidaire, if we are united, we are better. And this is, I think, again and again, the responsibility of everyone. And I think we have to tackle all these issues together with a multidisciplinary approach. It is not just one or two, it's a lot of issues together, but also all the stakeholders should be responsible. So this is the few words I need to finish with. Thank you so much. I hope I covered most of the questions, but there is still some ones. I just will go to the, maybe give you the possibility to, Professor, to comment, and I go through the chat if there is any questions, but I have still others here in my paper. I can come back. Just I will finish now to give the floor back to Professor Virginia Morris, and I come maybe back with to respond to some of your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hajer, for this valuable and enlightening lecture, which reflects your in-depth understanding and practical experience with the African Union. I remember very well when we first met in Accra at the AUCIL meeting. Many of the ideas that we discussed have come to fruition, and we are still building on those ideas. Before we conclude this first session of the African Law Seminar, I would like to briefly share with you plans for the future. This summer, I hope to initiate the first African Treaties Ratification Workshop for government legal advisors with Hajer and Judge Youssef to promote the signature, ratification, entry into force, and domestication of African Union treaties. They are truly an extraordinary legal framework that deserves to be implemented. Judge Youssef eloquently explained the importance of expediting this process, and Hajer again has emphasized this today. I hope to begin this pilot project with the new treaty relating to ending violence against women and children in Africa that was adopted by the Assembly of Heads of State and Government earlier this year. I think this would be a perfect place to start, not only because of the importance of this treaty, but because it has just been adopted. Let's see if we can speed things up. It would be extremely valuable to establish a registry of national implementing legislation to facilitate the adoption of similar legislation by other African countries. This was the strategy used to expedite the ratification and entry into force of the additional protocols of the Geneva Conventions and the statute of the International Criminal Court, which I had the privilege of working on at the Rome Conference. So dear academics, dear participants, please let me know if you would be willing to research implementing legislation for African treaties in your country and contribute this legislation to the registry. This would be a very valuable contribution of the academic community to the promotion of the rule of law in Africa. You are experts in researching the national laws of your country. After listening to Hajer's lecture today, I believe it would be very worthwhile to organize a seminar for African law schools on the important work of the AUCIL, which is of particular importance to scholars and students. It is important to disseminate information about the work of the AUCIL and to build bridges between the AUCIL and the academic community. Perhaps it would be possible to make the studies available on an informal basis for academic purposes, rather than as official documents. The United Nations has the same rule. concerning the issuance of official documents. They have to be issued in all 6 official languages. This is an extremely expensive and time-consuming process, but it is such a pity to have these wonderful intellectual contributions sitting in the archives and not be able to make them available to scholars and of course, eventually practitioners. So there is a possibility within the United Nations to issue informal papers in the original language only. My guess is this has never been done before, but that is true of most of the things that I have done, as Hajer knows. So finally, I hope to organize the 2nd African Law Seminar during the next academic year after the summer vacation. I have sent a form to the academic leadership and faculty members attending this seminar to request information about your academic calendars so we can find a convenient time for law schools throughout Africa to participate. Please kindly complete and submit these forms as soon as possible and no later than Friday, 9 May, to facilitate planning. It really takes time to put these things together, especially with such high-level speakers who have very demanding schedules. I would also like to note that this seminar is being recorded and it will be made available, of course, free of charge, online, together with the amazing slides. So I will conclude my remarks and hand over to Hajer simply to say thank you for your support for this new initiative and for the teaching and dissemination of African Union law for the benefit of Africa. I very much look forward to continuing to work with Hajer and Judge Yusuf, who is truly one of my heroes. And I think we can accomplish great things together. I think that this is, I hope, an important beginning. Thank you so much, Hajer. I know you have so much to do today. I wish you every success in The Hague. It's such an important case, and safe travels. And I think you certainly deserve at least one day off. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations for all you are doing, really, for years. I know how it is difficult to do that, but you know, when we have individuals that are committed like you, the things become really, they have impact. So you are doing a lot by yourself, and now as we have this institute, we have together, we began something together. And I think when I see the huge number of the people since yesterday, is the first time in my life that I have more than 500 people following me. So this is really a huge success. Definitely I send my emails and maybe you can share the PowerPoint. But as I said, let's be connected. The connection is very important. I will need you, you will need me. So this connection is interesting. I just need to finish with 2-3 questions. Yesterday I saw also that someone asked about the difference between the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the Women's Rights Protocol of Maputo. The Protocol of Maputo was more specified. It has specific rules and it tackles achieving equality between gender and ending violence against women and addressing the harmful traditional practices on women. And as you said, there is a new convention. We finished it in December 2024. It is the Convention on Ending Violence Against Women. And because women are a very important component of the African society, it is also important that we deliver such instruments for them. There is a question also on the plus value of setting up criminal section. It is really the replica of ICC. No, it is not the replica of ICC. We have new crimes. I said we have traditional 4 crimes plus other 14 new crimes. All the problem of this jurisdiction is that it was done in a context that is completely different nowadays. So I think this Article 46A bis on the impunity should be removed. However, I think why not? This is interesting and we can have originality in covering new international crimes, including unconstitutional changement of government, slavery, questions on environment. So it's really interesting. You can see the list of the international crimes and you can find this nowhere in the world and in the positive international law. Concerning the question on the theme of the year, very interesting question. So if you have time, you can go to the website. In the front page, you can see the importance of the theme of the year on reparation. It is not only reparation on the crimes of slavery, the crimes of genocide that were inflicted to the African population for decades, but it is also compensation for all the handcrafts, the statues that you can find in the museums, internationally speaking, and you can find even them in private collections. All these handcrafts and these different statues of Africa have invaluable compensation. It is really billions of dollars. So I think it is important that the theme of the year can advocate of the rights for the rights of Africans, and among the issues that was done in the decision is to lobby, to go to the ICJ and to ask for an advisory opinion on how to compensate Africans for these centuries of misleading or of torture, of crimes, of slavery, of robbing our status, etc. All this together, you can find it with details. There is a whole map on how we can do the theme of the year online. I can see that there is some questions and answers. Maybe I can go through them. How can monitor the effective implementation of countries' obligation to regional law in domestically unless the case brought before regional and international court? Yes, again, the question of implementation needs political will and needs that the text can be done in a way that there will be sanctions, because the court, the African court, have a lot of ideas on how we can improve the implementation of the cases and of the decisions. However, again, the states do not need to see that. And all the time when we come to the summits, they remove these issues of how we can sanction and how we can have a counterpart and how we can give effectiveness to the court, but it is part of the reform. The reform of AU has inter alia component, the reform of the organs. How the Peace and Security Council is effective in ensuring peace in Africa in regards to current incidents happening like Congo, etc. I told you that I do not see that it is effective. They are trying. However, if they are not given the tools and the opportunity to go far, they cannot be effective. And that's why sometimes you have Geneva round one, Geneva round two. So people go out of Africa, even if our slogan is African solution for African problems. So I think we have to deepen the understanding on how we can resolve our problems internally, and this it's urgent to have negotiation, to have this diplomatic arena, and after that we can go to the peaceful dispute settlement. And this is also the African Court of Justice. It has a role. However, the African Court of Justice is not operationalized yet. So I think once it is operationalized, it has this responsibility to give solution on the disputes between African countries. Also AGA, what is called the architecture of good governance. I think when it is about internal crimes and crimes against humanity, this question of democracy and respect of human rights. And I think in order to have less conflicts, internally speaking, there is a lot to be done on the mentalities and on the commitment to the rule of law. How can an issue of a conflict between a member state and AU and a non-governmental organization be resolved? This is also one of the issues with the jurisdiction, criminal jurisdiction, because it is the first and the unique instrument that gives the possibility to have the accountability and the responsibility of non-state actors. You can find it in the draft. Not in the draft, in the text it is already a text, but it did not, Malabo Protocol, but it did not came into force. So the Malabo Protocol, if you compare it to the Statute of Rome of ICC, it gives this possibility to make accountable non-state actors. And there is a lot of non-state actors on the African lands and the states, and they are the one who are the source of terrorism, of conflicts, etc. So till now we have the text, but it is not yet ratified nor entered into force. And that's why even ICC will tell you that we are not responsible of non-state actors. It is not in Rome Statute. Has there been any discussion to bring forth a regional or continental court that settles African issues using the AU Charter? This is what I said. So we have a lot of text, but they are not yet implemented. Please, just for a clarification, please, are coup nations eligible to a member or AU or sub-regional? So it depends. As I said, sub-regional, it is case by case. Some sub-regional, they said, no problem, they are part of the group. We do not consider them suspended. But at the level of African Union, the Office of the Legal Counsel at the beginning of each session, when it is about member states, we give them the list of the states under sanction. And the state under sanctions are different steps, as I said. There is the one who they didn't cover their financial implication. They didn't pay, or in arrear payment. You can find all this in the rules of the conference of the assembly. And till the last one is about the coup d'etat and anti-constitutional changement of government. They have full sanctions. That means they are suspended already and they are not part of the meetings of AU and they are not eligible for anything. So this is also a way to tell them, come back to the democracy and the democratical life or way of life. And this is, I think, the case of the last election occurred in not Gambia. I forgot the. Anyways, it will come. So they've done just a few weeks ago democratic election, and they will come back. So there is a list. If you can go to unconstitutional changement of, there is a lot of the academy, the Hague Academy. They have lessons on these issues. You can find through the years the list of the different states under sanction, and they come back after they do their elections with the democratic issues. It seems as if the AU is concerned more with human rights, which wish to know other fields the AU goes through. Concerned more with human rights. Human rights, it is not an issue only of African Union, even the civil society, the associations, it's the question of everyone. So other fields the AU goes through, they cover all the domains you can think about, all the domains without any exception. Just go to the departments of AU and you can see that we cover everything. Can the judgment rendered by the African Union Court be appealed? So we have only the African Court of Human and People's Rights, for instance, and it cannot be appealed. It is the last resort. However, like the international jurisdiction, you can appeal it in 3 cases, with conditions and very restrictive condition. If you need interpretation, or if there is a new facts, or if there is the interpretation of the judge of an instrument is wrong, or the instrument is no more there. So these are very few cases to open, or new fact, there is new facts, to open the case again, and this is the conditions, for instance. What exactly hinder this effectiveness of this regional integration is ensuring peace and harmony in their community. Are all regional integration, community, and other efficiency of the goals, visions, missions seems not attainable, and in most of the community, the member states are in conflict. For example, yes, I just agree with that, and I think everything has to come together. Politics, economy, education, social, all of them together. When you just do it in parallel, I think we are better. However, if one is more priority than the other, we are still behind. So again and again, to strengthen and to succeed the sub-regional integration, we need political will, definitely. Greetings, it is really blah, blah, blah. Please, may I wish to know how does African law address issues of peace and security, including conflicts resolution and peace? Too much, thousands. Just again, AU website is very well done. It is updated. You can find everything, including the decision. And each year there is a decision on peace and security. There is a declaration on conflict of Palestine, and all these issues. It is periodic. You can have decisions, and in the decision they recall the former decision, so you can just find them and you can have them. So concerning why this institution not operationalized, so I tackled this and I told you about the challenges. There is a lot of other questions and I have to go. So sorry, maybe we can just, I will just try to have them just to have a picture, screenshot of them, and I can maybe individually on mail, I can address them. I think we already off of time. Thank you so much, and let's keep in touch. You have my email, and please, the organizers can share with you my presentation PowerPoint. And congratulations for all of you for your for being in this lecture, and for Professor Virginia Maurice, who is doing really a lot for Africa and for African Union and African instruments. I adhere totally to all the initiatives you are taking, and we are together. You can count on me. Thank you so much.